This profile gauge can be used to measure the shape of irregular items to create an instant template for marking precise cuts, as it perfectly conforms to shape and holds its pattern. It is made of high quality, high strength, durable, and anti-rust plastic material.
Just started it up, easy to use, so much easier to light. And my little gas button on the Uni 3, so that's good. Seems to be a nice line of gas coming out the back there. Just heating it up now, ready for the cook. It says on the instructions it takes 15 minutes to heat up. So I'll be back in 15 minutes. So the pizza's been made, it's ready to go into the oven. I'm going to just check the temperature of the stone. And Uni in their leaflet said they recommend it to be 400 in the middle. So it's 439 at the back, 210 at the front, and it's about 385 in the middle. I'm just going to wait a little bit for that to go up a bit more. It's been about 12 minutes. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes. I didn't know whether the cover would be cool. The cover's boiling, so that doesn't stay cool. Just if you weren't sure. I thought it might stay cool, but it's no, that's definitely boiling hot. As I'm waiting, I'll just show you the pros out as well. Show the difference in size. It's been about a minute and a half. Yeah, that's 400 now, so I'll go with that. Let's get my coffee out the way. Try and get used to the size of the oven. It does feel a bit smaller than the Uni 3 because I'm having more of a wiggle issue there, turning it there. So it does feel a bit narrower. I might be wrong. I'll have to measure them up and see. So I'm just checking the base. Oh, it's got, oh my God, the dough has got an imprint of uni in it. I don't think that's ever happened before. Oops. I do like the gas.
Anechoic thing that you're going to have your yolk sac, the diamond ring round in the center of that on the sides, and then the fetal pole is a bit of a thickening or an extension on the outside of that. You might call that the balloon on the string. So it should be present if the mean sac diameter is bigger than 16 millimeters on the transvaginal or bigger than 25 on your transabdominal. Pregnancy failure is not diagnostic until the fetal pole is not seen and you're bigger than 25 millimeters on your transvaginal. In terms of fetal heart rate, you're going to see this roughly about 7 weeks on your transabdominal, about 6 weeks on your transvaginal. Your fetal pole should measure more than 7 millimeters, and then you'll be able to see a fetal heartbeat. It does aid to give you a prognostic value if the pregnancy is going to be viable or not. So the myocardium does begin to contract around 3 weeks, but we don't see it till a little bit later. Usually your fetal heart rate is anywhere from 100 to 120 around 6 weeks. It's going to increase over the next couple of weeks and then decrease to about 160 while the baby is at term. Sorry, 130 when the baby's at term. Bradycardia less than 100, tachycardia 160 to 180. If you see a fetal heart rate, it is a good prognostic factor. So about 80 to 85% will go on to have a full term delivery, or sorry, not term, but full viable delivery, even if they have a PV, bleed, or pelvic pain. But it's not because, like I said, 85%, there are some that are not going to be viable. Don't use the Doppler because there's a risk of a theoretical risk of the higher mechanical index causing heat and therefore harming the fetus. So what you want to use instead is your M mode and your pulse wave Doppler to potentially see the fetal heart rate.
We just had an ultrasound. My wife just had an ultrasound for our 20-week gestation, and they used M mode, and I was really happy because when we had our other child in New York, the pulse wave Doppler, and I was in my fellowship year, and they put it on and standing there smiling, gripping my hands tightly and being like, theoretical risk. Theoretical.
All the scans that I ever done in Israel, they always put like a pulse. To give you the sense.
Theoretical, but you don't want to be the one.
Yes.
So this
Stronger,
is what MO looks like. You want to make sure that you're actually going through the fetal heart with your marker in order to determine if the heart rate is there or not. So your machine should be able to help calculate this for you. There should be a fetal heart rate mode under your obstetric modes. So basically, it might be kind of hard to see, and I apologize for those at home, but if you can see here, basically, there is a regular heartbeat. Or, yeah, it's easier to keep the lights off. There we go. You can kind of see here, there's something, a regular pattern that's repeating. And so what the person has done here, at the beginning of each pattern, they've placed the markers to be able to see, to calculate what the fetal heart rate is. So you can see at the bottom, the machine gives you a fetal heart rate. So this one is 157, which is within normal limits. Just to say you put it out there, this is a baby that's obviously a lot older, not a first trimester, but you can still use the same thing to look for the fetal heart rate. So you can still do it even if they're older. Again, it's a lot easier to see the rhythmical pattern over time. And then again, you can put your cursors on and get a heart rate. It's something you can do at all times. The next thing you want to do is look at the myometrial mantle thickness. So what this is basically the myometrium should be surrounding your pregnancy, and it should be at least 5 to 7 millimeters. The reason is if you're at the edge or less than that, it's possible that this knot might actually be inside the uterus. It might be an interstitial ectopic or corneo-ectopic. So you want to make sure you have at least 5 to 7 millimeters. Maybe we should go through that. So basically, as you can see with the measurements, you're going to start from your edge of your gestational sac, the innermost edge, to the very outermost edge of your myometrium. So that's how thick it should be. It's a little bit subjective, but something you should still do. So this is a paper in AIUM 2014 that looked at the endometrial thickness to decide if there was a good implantation or not. It's a review article. They looked at the literature, the guidelines, and sonographic measurement for the endometrial mantle thickness as a criteria for determining pregnancy risk for abnormal implantation based on location. Retrospective and based on case reports. Overall, they found that a thin endometrial mantle and an eccentric placement of the gestational sac should raise a suspicion for an abnormal implanted pregnancy. So in such cases, you might think about an interstitial ectopic, a corneal pregnancy, and they have a higher risk of morbidity and mortality and uterus rupture. So just something to counsel the women on. So things that you must have to say this is an IUP. These are the 5 things. Gestational sac inside the uterus. You must have a decidual endometrial reaction. You must have a yolk sac, a fetal pole, and a fetal heart rate, and a myometrial mantle bigger than 5 or 7 millimeters. So here's an example. And what do you guys think? Is this an IUP or not an IUP, or we don't know?
IUP.
Why?
I mean, it looks like to me that it meets all the criteria. First of all, it's inside the uterus. It looks to be. There's obviously a gestational sac with a fetal pole and a yolk sac, and you can see a fetal heart rate there.
Yeah.
It looks like a decidual reaction.